Hi, and welcome to this live reading from Justice for the Forgotten by R. Weir. And this is presented by Itsy Bitsy Book Bits. Prologue. The Musings of an Ex-Cop by Donnie Steel. Blog entry dated February 1st. Welcome to my therapy. This blog serves as my therapy. After more than 23 years in the Westminster Police Force, I knew I was done and needed to move on. A case involving the horrifying death of a female minor had shaken me to the core, a case which to this day is still unsolved, this fact gnawing at the back of my skull like an angry parasite. I had been one of the youngest recruits at 21 years of age to pass the state-certified law enforcement academy and become an entry-level police officer. In all those years, I achieved many positions within the force. I worked traffic and patrol, then made detective, worked in canine, did undercover work in narcotics, and even had been part of the physically demanding SWAT team. In all those positions, I received several promotions and accommodations for outstanding service on the force. All the work I accomplished had been a revelation, both rewarding and frustrating, the latter more so in my final years. In my mind, the motto to protect and to serve had lost its luster. And then it happened. The young girl, whose name I won't mention, had gone missing. The search for her had lasted nearly 2 weeks when the body was finally found. A gruesome end to such a young life, one I won't detail here on the blog. The story has been written all over the web and doesn't need more embellishment from me. The moment I learned the remains had been found, I knew my days were coming to an end. I went to peer support where officers with similar issues would meet after traumatic incidents. I followed this up in therapy with a highly trained psychologist where we met a couple times a week. I held on for more than a year and even took desk duty, an option I swore I'd never do. With all these support mechanisms, I thought I'd get over the hump, but alas, this wouldn't be the case. I turned in my notice to my superiors, who all hoped to change my mind, for they knew I had been a model officer and they hated losing me, especially considering the staff shortages the department was experiencing. But for my sanity, I needed to walk away, or I was afraid I would leer at the end of a bottomless bottle of whiskey and drink myself into oblivion. Or, even worse, stare down the barrel of a gun in my own hands. Other factors over time had added to my burden. My wife, Wendy, whom I had loved since senior year of high school, passed away over 2 years ago from ovarian cancer after a long struggle. A partner in my life who'd been with me through thick and thin. The two of us had built together a joyous life and raised a wonderful daughter. Wendy's death had been expected, but still shocked me. I had held out hope through constant prayer a miracle would save her. Alas, my prayers weren't answered and the miracle never materialized. I required time off to grieve and recover. A year after I returned to work, the death of the young girl occurred. It now seemed to me this was a sign from the great beyond. I needed to explore other options. Soon after, my years as a police officer would be behind me. After many hours home alone in retirement and long conversations with my daughter, I knew it was time to get off my ass. I sold the house and bought a 42-foot Class A motorhome, a big enclosed trailer to haul my Honda motorcycle, and decided to travel. A plan Wendy and I hoped to do when I retired, to explore the country together and absorb all the sights and sounds of this vast land. Her spirit, ashes, and framed pictures would be forever with me. I was on the road to fulfill the promise we had made to each other. Before I began my journey, people close to me remarked, "You should write a novel about your experiences." Hell, I wish I could type it all down easily. The thoughts being scattered and too unorganized to be written out in a novel format. Instead, I decided to start this blog as therapy. Those scattered thoughts are more easily cornered in this binary format. Digital print being free chapters of my book for you to read, covering my journey as a police officer, husband, and father. A few of the names changed to protect the innocent, as they used to proclaim on Dragnet. Musings of an ex-cop to keep the horrible memories at bay, flushing them from my brain while I typed them in computer ink. I hope you return every few weeks to read what is new and take what I've written to heart, the heart I wear on my sleeve. Comment below, reach out if you have questions or experiences to share. I'm there to help all I can. Together, we can find peace in the turbulent storms of our lives. May life shine happiness upon you. Donnie Steel. Chapter 1. His feet thumped on the damp pavement like the rhythm of a healthy heartbeat. The Colorado air, moist from overnight rain, the sun warming this early June morning. The third trip around the 4 loops of the state campground invigorated Donnie Steel. Sweat soaked his running clothes. His breathing steady, blood pulsating through his heart and veins, hips rocking out at a steady tempo. With all the exercise he'd been doing, his 46-year-old frame was holding up well. Many pounds he had shed to regain his strength and endurance. Training he had been neglecting since his retirement nearly a year ago. Motivation being an issue at first. His routine had been broken, the idea of starting a new regimen difficult at first to forge in his mind. A new purpose he'd found thanks to people reaching out to him via his blog. Encouragement to fight on and make a difference baked into their words. By his side, running step for step, was the 4-year-old Belgian Malinois Kogel, which was Dutch for bullet. His mouth open, tongue hanging out and dripping saliva, his eyes fully focused on the trail ahead. The black and mahogany former canine continually challenged Donnie physically with his effortless pace, though he liked to think he pushed the beautiful animal and companion as well. The goal of a third run around Pinnan Campground had been attained together as they slowly walked back to their RV site. Donnie and his canine partner primed to face the day ahead. Donnie's thoughts focused on what brought him to southern Colorado. It had been over 4 months since he posted his first blog, more for himself than for others. A monologue of his life, both good, bad, euphoric, and tragic. Once he typed out the first posting, he felt good. Another following a couple weeks later, spreading out his thoughts every few weeks. His prose and syntax were not the most sublime, grammar and proper punctuation not important to him, much like the police reports he'd submitted when working law enforcement. The purpose was to release his tense thoughts so they wouldn't haunt him. It was intended for Donnie, his daughter August, family members, and others he had worked with through the years to read, but not necessarily anyone else. Within a couple of months, he learned others had found his blog. Those readers would write suggestions in the comments field. He blocked the occasional nasty verbiage, though most had been pragmatic. Positive posts vented about incidents in their lives. Others implied they wished he could help. His passion and determination were traits they admired. One such painful post spoke out to him. Would you be willing to help us with the death of our son? He was killed, and the local police never found those accountable. The pain we feel at the loss is one we'll never get over. Yet we need some type of closure in finding the person or people responsible. Our efforts have been thwarted by the authorities at every turn. We've even been threatened by sources we've not been able to positively identify, and the police are unwilling to assist. From reading your posts, we believe you have the passion necessary to get results and bring justice for our forgotten son. We don't have much money to pay you, but we hope you'll read this with an open mind and consider rendering assistance. If you're unwilling, since you've already been through so much as outlined in your blog, we understand. All the best, and may God bless you. Donnie pored over the post several times, wondering if he could help. He learned the killing took place in the southern part of the state. A reply or two with a few follow-up questions on his part, which led him to the Colorado State Campground where he was staying. The drive south on I-25 to Walsenburg, then west on U.S. Highway 160 to Lathrop State Park. A beautiful location and close enough to make it worthwhile to talk with the parents. Today, a meeting planned with the Riveras to learn more. He wasn't certain he would be the savior they were praying for, but he was willing to listen to what they had to say, see if he could lend his expert hand. They reached the motorhome and went inside, the dog leading the way. Kogel found the water bowl and lapped until the container was nearly empty. Donnie put down a bowl of dog food, then refilled the water. Kogel, without hesitation, heartily devoured the brown kibble, followed by another long drink. Once Kogel finished, Donnie washed out the bowl, then showered off the sweat and stink on his body from the morning run. Before his guests arrived with a damp towel wrapped around his waist, he quickly finished a bowl of whole-grain, honey-flavored cereal, which claimed to keep his cholesterol low, though his clean lifestyle was likely the reason for the healthy numbers on his yearly checkups. No smoking or drugs, with only an occasional drink limited to beer and wine. Fresh fruits and vegetables, fresh beef, chicken, and fish. Limiting processed foods as much as a motorhome traveler could. Vigorous exercise and, to date, a lot of good fortune, which had allowed him to live a healthy life. Once he was done eating, he changed into clean clothes. Beyond his brown sport coat, black slacks, and a red polo were the extent of his formal attire. In preparation for his guests, he put away any clutter, including a couple of dog toys and bones Kogel had gnawed to the edge of death. The inside was tidy and ready for his guests. Car tires crunched on the gravel, and he commanded Kogel to lie down. The expertly trained dog was always eager to follow his instructions spoken in Dutch. There was a knock on the door, and outside stood a man and a woman. Donnie waved for them to enter. It's a steep climb. Use the handrail if you need assistance. Once inside, the man shook Donnie's hand. This is my wife, Mariana. I'm Alvaro. Great to meet you both. I'm Donnie. Alvaro nodded. Yes, we recognize you from the picture on your blog. And this must be Kogel. Mariana smiled. May I pet him? Donnie motioned for Kogel to rise, but then commanded him to zit, which was Dutch for sit. He was trained as a tracker, so let him sniff you first. Mariana knelt on the floor and extended her hand. Kogel took in the flowery fragrance of her perfume. You can pet him now. He is quite friendly. Mariana petted the dog on the top of his head, Kogel loving the intention. He is a magnificent animal. You mentioned in your post his breed was Belgian something? A Belgian Malinois. Many police departments around the country use them for their canine units. Sounded like your command was in another language, Alvaro patted the dog. He was trained using Dutch commands, which I continue to use. It helps prevent a culprit who is being hunted down from overriding the trainer's directions. Mariana rose. I'm sure he is quite loyal and a wonderful companion. He is. Please have a seat. He pointed to the captain's chairs in the front, which had been swiveled to face the living area of the RV. We have much to discuss. Alvaro let his wife sit first. The Hispanic woman was on the short side with long, dark, wavy hair. She wore tight-fitting blue slacks over her thick hips and short legs. A beige button-down blouse covered her upper body. She carried a gray purse large enough for a small dog if she had one. She sat upright in the seat and folded her hands over her lap. Alvaro sat in the other captain's chair. He was under 6 foot with a pudgy frame. Short, curly black hair with a little bit of fuzz on his brown chin. He wore blue slacks and a long-sleeved yellow shirt. He leaned back into the captain's chair and crossed his legs. This is a spacious and luxurious RV, Mariana said. With the 2 slide-outs on both sides of the living area and the one in the bedroom, it is quite comfy. How do you like living in the RV as compared to owning a house? Alvaro asked. When my wife passed on, keeping up a home was too difficult. There were also too many reminders of our life together. Donnie pointed to a framed picture of his deceased wife mounted on the wall behind him. We had plans to travel the country together when I retired. Now her memory travels with me. Mariana stood and looked at the picture, then returned to her seat. She was quite beautiful. Yes, she was, and miss her every day. I must say, when we started reading your blog, we felt a connection to you, Alvaro said. It is nice to find someone who has experienced loss like we have. It's pain that never dies, I replied. It only lessens over time. We wish this were true of our pain, Mariana's body shook. We've had a hard time letting go. I'm sure it's because you haven't been given a reason for your son's death. They gave us a false and unrealistic cause, and it's one we can't accept. Alvaro pounded the armrest in frustration with his fist. Tell me more about what happened to... I'm sorry, I'm blanking on your son's name. Enzo. Mariana wiped away a tear. He was our baby, our one and only. Kogel laid down at her feet. Had he sensed her sadness? Donnie's heart broke at the notion. I know if we had lost our daughter, we would have been crushed. You aren't supposed to outlive your children. How old was he? He would have turned 22 a week after his death, Alvaro said. Mariana pulled a tissue from her purse and dabbed at her eyes. We had a wonderful party planned for him, one replaced with a funeral. Wendy's funeral had been planned as a celebration of her life, which it was, since her death was inevitable. Even in celebration, many tears were shed. In the Rivera family's case, their son's death had been unexpected and shocking. In the blink of an eye, the joy of celebrating his birth had been flipped to mourn his death. I'm so sorry about your son. Your comments on my blog spoke to me, asking for my help while understanding if I was unwilling to assist. I'm not sure if I can solve this murder, but I'm inclined to nose around and see what I can uncover. Can you give me any particulars about Enzo, what happened to him? As much detail as possible so I know where to start. Alvaro took his wife's hand in his. We'll tell you all we can, but part of our frustration is what we don't know, or at least no one will tell us. Mariana crumbled the tissue into her free hand. We have some information to give you. She reached into her oversized bag, pulled out a folder, and handed it to Donnie. There are a few details about our son, covering some of what you asked for. It's not much, but there is information in there about a lawyer we hired. He can fill in the blanks. We contacted him and gave him permission to share everything with you. Donnie opened the folder. Inside was a picture of Enzo holding a skateboard. He was a younger version of his father, brown skin, short black, curly hair, with a thin fuzz of a mustache. He was a handsome young man, looks like his father. Mariana nodded. Except for the extra hair on his upper lip, yes, he does. Alvaro patted his stomach. Fortunately, he didn't have my gut. Mariana squeezed Alvaro's hand. Neither did you when you were his age. He is holding a skateboard in the picture? Alvaro puffed out his chest, obviously proud of his son. He was quite good and did numerous stunts. Scared the hell out of us many times when he was younger, Mariana added. Broke his left arm once after a fall. It's amazing he didn't break more bones. Then he was still active with his skateboarding. Yes, there is a skateboard park in Walsenburg he went to with his friends. Their names are on the list, including his roommate Diego. Besides the picture, there was one page of information. It showed the address where Enzo lived, the name and address of the company he worked for, a few friends' names, including Diego, and the name and address of the lawyer. I see Preston Rush is the name of the lawyer you hired. Alvaro nodded. He helped us as much as he could, even worked for a reduced rate since we didn't have much money to pay him. I'm guessing he didn't get far. Alvaro released his wife's hand. He ran into resistance. He can explain the details to you. Looks like he lives in Walsenburg. I'll call him and schedule a time. Donnie held up the paper. Not much in here. It is frustrating and difficult for us to talk about. Mariana's hands trembled on her lap. We can give you more. Much of the information we had in hard copy was lost in our house fire. It's devastating. When did this happen? 6 months after Enzo's murder, Alvaro said. Donnie frowned. Sounds like more than a coincidence. It was ruled accidental, caused by faulty wiring, or so he said, Mariana grimaced. We know otherwise. Some masked men threatened us to stop looking into Enzo's death. Alvaro's hands balled into fists. A couple weeks later, we woke up to smoke and barely got out in time. It was a small house and was completely consumed in flames in a matter of minutes. We lost everything. Is this why you now live in Santa Fe, New Mexico? Yes. We have relatives on Mariana's side of the family who gave us a place to live. We had to start over and decided it was best we didn't return. Yet you still want me to look into your son's murder. Mariana took a deep breath. Even though these thugs threatened and scared the hell out of us, we can't let this go. Donnie was concerned about the well-being of the Riveros. What if they threaten you again? We know it's a lot to ask, Alvaro said, but we hoped you could dig around without revealing we hired you. This was a big thing to ask. These people threatened the Rivera family to the point of burning down their house. The same threats could come his way once he started poking the hornet's nest. He leaned back in the comfy theater seat, studied Enzo's photo, and made his decision. I will talk with the lawyer and get more information. I can't guarantee how far I'll dig, but I'll poke around to see what I learn. For now, that is all I can promise. We knew it was a long shot. Alvaro stood and pulled out his wallet. You'll understand after all you've been through if you decide it's too much and back out. Pulled out a check and handed it to Donnie. It's not much, but it should help pay for the gas for driving down. Donnie looked at the check, got to his feet, and handed it back. I was coming down here to fish anyway. Keep your money for now. If I do learn anything and decide to dig deeper, then we can talk further about payment. Alvaro smiled, tucked the check back into his wallet, and shook Donnie's hand. Thank you. Mariana got to her feet, the big bag over her shoulder. You have a precious soul. It's wonderful to have met you. She gave Donnie a hug. May God bless and watch over you in your pursuit. With Kogel standing next to him, the Rivera family left the RV, got into their sedan, and drove away. He wanted to help the delightful couple. The young man's murder, now a cold mystery he hoped to unravel. At the adventure and foreboding danger he could encounter, a tingling sensation ran down his spine.